What's up, people? In this video, we are going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to tell you about the first time I ever smoked weed. I don't know, maybe some people care about that. I'm going to make this video anyway. I'm on a roll, baby. It's 1 o'clock. I've been doing this since 8 a.m. I need a break. This might be the last video of the day. Anyway, first time I smoked weed. Alright, so I mentioned this in other videos, but growing up, I was a very straight edge kid. Like, straight edge to the point of being annoying. If people smoked cigarettes around me, I would like start talking about how cigarettes give you cancer and they're so bad for you and like they smell bad and like you're a bad person for smoking them. I did the same thing with drugs. I had never smoked weed before, despite the fact that I was like 14, which might sound young, but where I was growing up, you know, West LA, like people are going to smoke weed, and for somebody to have never smoked weed or tried a cigarette or drank alcohol, by 14, 15 years old was kind of an anomaly. I didn't really care. I didn't want to do it. I was against it, and like avidly against it. That said, started hanging out with people who were not against it and were for it, and smoked a lot of weed and partied a lot and just, you know, whatever. They didn't really do anything bad, but just your typical teenager shit, right? Anyway, and I remember one friend in particular, I won't mention his name in case he watches my videos or in case he's trying to be an upstanding citizen these days, which I'm sure he is, but this particular friend really liked to smoke weed a lot. Like, really liked to smoke weed, really liked to do a lot of drugs, and really didn't see anything wrong with doing either of those things. And at the time, there was kind of a, like, at the time at our high school, like, seniors were the only ones who were allowed to leave during lunch. Because a lot of people had cars, and at lunch, you know, they're not going to check everybody to make sure you're a senior. Sometimes they check, but like, really, like if you have a car, you know, they're going to fucking check everybody who wants to leave at lunch, right? The idea is you leave at lunch and then you come back for your final period class. So I started becoming closer with this one friend who was, I would say, like, let's call it like the leader of the group of new friends that I was hanging out with. The bad boys, whatever we call them. Not really so bad, but just like worse than... Not bad in a bad way, but bad as in like disregard for authority, let's say. They get in fights, they do drugs, like whatever. Somehow I started hanging out with them despite the fact that I was not like that. Whatever. Anyway, went with him one day. He's like, let's go leave for lunch. I want to go buy some weed from this dealer, whatever. I won't say his name. I probably shouldn't mention any names. These like illegal stories. Let's call him Steve, the dealer. The dealer Steve, not his name, but let's go buy from Steve. I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. In my mind, we're just going to go buy weed. Like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going with him. Maybe we'll get some lunch, maybe not. So I go with him, and this is before cell phones. And basically the plan is to just show up at Steve's apartment and knock on his door and like try and buy some weed. So we drive all the way to, I don't remember exactly where it was, like 20 minutes away maybe. And when you have a 45 or 50-minute lunch time, 20 minutes is a long time, or 15 minutes, whatever it was. So we drive there, Steve's not home, and my homie's like knocking on the door a lot, right? And did he have I don't remember if we had cell phones back then, or if like we had to go to a payphone. I think we had to go to a payphone. We had to go to a payphone, and like he had to call the dealer or page the dealer from the payphone and like ask him like, where are you, when are you going to be home? Like, I want to buy some weed, basically. And this went on like way longer than it should have, right? Like in my mind, it's like my straight edge, like, you know, innocent mind. I'm thinking to myself, okay, we went to check if he was there. He wasn't there. Let's go back to school. I have to go to my last class, right? My friend was not particularly interested in attending class, really, especially like when he wanted to buy weed. So we didn't really go back, and we essentially just parked in front of Steve's house until he came back, really. And then he came back, and I sat in the car. My friend went inside and, like, you know, bought a dub, whatever. Brought it back outside. He's like, okay, let's smoke. And I'm like, actually, I don't smoke. And homie loses his temper, loses his mind. And he goes, this kid had a temper too. He's like, God damn it, Stu. And he like hits his center console fucking like really hard. He's like, God damn it, man. We just went through all that shit to get the weed, and now you're not going to smoke? And I felt so bad. I was like, it's like, oh my God, like, I didn't know it was that important to you. Okay, I guess I'll go against all my morals and ethics and everything I stand for to smoke weed with you because you threw a tantrum. Like, again, nothing against him. He was my best friend for a very long time. Did he send me down a path of like ultimately like negatively affecting my life? Maybe, but whatever. Like, you know, who cares, really? Like, I'm glad I had the experiences that I did. Anyway, I smoked there. You know, he would smoke he had a little pipe, right? And he was like, you know, he gives me the pipe and he's like, I was like, how do I do it? You know, and he's like, just suck. And I was like, in my mind, suck didn't mean inhale. It just meant like suck with your mouth, like take in air through your mouth, right? Sounds kind of perverted, but like, anyway, eventually I figured it out and like inhaled and coughed and got high as a fucking kite. Anyway, he was like all happy that like he got me to smoke for the first time, and like ended up telling everybody as soon as we went back to school. Before we went back to school, he was like, all right, let's get some food. So we went to Burger King. And I remember going to Burger King, and it was very like well lit, as it is in most fast food restaurants. Very well lit inside Burger King. And I remember going inside and feeling like, it's like, wow, this light looks weird. Everything looks weird, right? I was like trying to get used to the headspace of being high. And he's like cracking up. He's like laughing at me. He's like fucking with me, you know. And then we go back to school, and I had my backpack on, and I remember like thinking like, this backpack feels really weird against my back. Everything was just weird and strange to me. And that was it. I guess that was the first time I smoked weed. Definitely not the last. Definitely not the last. Don't really smoke weed anymore. Not a big fan. Makes me way too paranoid and think I'm wasting my life, which arguably, at my age, with my comparable level of financial success and like establishedness as a 35, almost 36-year-old man, do I really deserve to be smoking weed like in my spare time when I could be doing something more productive? Although yesterday I spent 3 hours in an internet cafe playing Dota, so like, you know, would it have been much different? I smoked weed? Probably. That probably wouldn't have woken up today at 7 o'clock. Anyway, whatever. I don't like smoking weed anymore. That's the story of my first time smoking weed. Tell me in a comment, when was the first time you smoked weed? Do you remember? Give me a little story of your own. Was it as exciting as my story? Do you regret smoking weed for the first time, or do you still smoke weed and you love smoking weed, and smoking weed is like your jam? You love that shit. Let me know. Give me your thoughts and your opinion, and leave it in a commentarino. Peace.